Hey, what's going on, everybody? Gleez here, and today we're going to talk about Paul Phoenix and go over some of his best buttons, some of the combos that I like to utilize, and his game plan. So what is Paul's game plan? He's a very good defensive character. He has 50-50s up close that he's able to enforce, and you can utilize those 50-50s in a variety of ways. Some are much more high risk than others, but those higher risk options do yield much better reward. So you can play him as risky as you want and reap those benefits, or possibly reap the downside of getting punished and launched for your entire health bar. So that's on you. I think that a player that has a good sense of how to play defense and with punish and neutral is going to excel using Paul. He's not a character that's going to get up in your face and press a ton of buttons, but he is a character that will punish somebody for overextending. And I think that's how he's utilized best. So let's talk about Paul's buttons that I like to utilize while in neutral. So his best pokes is 1, obviously. Most characters stand 1 is pretty good. It's 10 frames, plus 8 on hit. 1-2 is also plus 8 on hit. Never go into the 1-2-3, because the 1-2-3, I mean, unless it's going to kill, 1-2-3 is minus 14 on hit, on hit, on hit, right? So you want to avoid that. All right, you're going to be super negative. Don't utilize that unless you're going to kill your opponent. His stand 3 is pretty good. Has a lot of range. It's a mid. Notice the range on this, really good. His quarter circle forward 4 is also good. A little bit less range, but it comes out much faster at 11 frames, and it is a mid. They're not going to be able to crouch that. His down 1 is good, and it is a mid. It comes out pretty quick in 14 frames. Plus 2 on hit, not too bad. His down forward 4, his knee, right? So let's put this on block, just so you guys can see what this looks like on block. So it's only minus 2 on block, right? Which is really good. But on hit, if I were to take him off of block, look at this. You're plus 8, and you're right up close to your opponent. Really good button. It also has some good range, too. All right, so that's a button that I really do like to utilize. It does come out a little bit slow in 17 frames, but you have to, know a case situation where you're going to utilize that. And the last button that we'll go over as far as like neutral tools, down forward 1, which does lead into sway. So you can sway back, which has a bunch of moves that are associated with that, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I do want you to keep in mind that off of the sway, you're not locked into that, right? So if you go into sway, you could actually sidestep up, which can allow you to block, right? So you can sidestep up, block. Also, when you're in sway, if you hold forward, you get access to other buttons as well. So watch, I'll go into sway and I'll hold forward and I'll hit 1-2. Right, so I can actually access those moves in the sway. You can also, do anything as long as you're holding forward. Any button that would come out forward plus whatever button. So, right, I can get something like that if I wanted to. So keep in mind that you're just not locked into that sway, and I think that's important to understand and utilize. So Paul has some really nasty heat engagers, man. His quarter circle forward 2, which is a mid, Death Fist. Can't talk about Paul without talking about Death Fist, right? Boom. Right up in your grill. And you're plus 17, and this allows you to enforce your 50-50 game off of almost all of his heat engagers. He also has his forward 2, which is a really fast Punisher, and with Punisher at 14 frames. So notice the range that this actually hits. So we'll be like right here, and that's some really good range. And just to demonstrate why this is so good, we'll have Paul do his Death Fist. And we can actually punish that. Notice the yellow in the box below says punish. Right, so we're able to punish that. Which in most cases, a lot of characters, they have a difficult time punishing moves that are, minus, 15, 16, 17 from that range. But Paul doesn't. He's able to get that punish pretty well. Also his down 1+2 does a good job with that, but that's super negative. All right, so keep that in mind. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here. We're talking about heat engagers. His up forward 2 is pretty good. It's actually plus 5 on block, right? So you're in a good position to get things rolling. His forward 4 is good too, and that is a move that will low crush. So if you have a character coming in with a lot of lows, and you're here, good range, able to get some things going, and it is safe on block. Quarter circle back 2. All right, another heat engager, right up close in the grill piece, and you can enforce those 50-50s. So what types of 50-50s, right? What buttons are you going to press? So you can go with the Demo Man, down 4-2, 1+2. right? So that's part of the 50-50 game. You can go right into a second Death Fist, right, and go into your charge and get a full combo. You can keep it safer and go quarter circle back 2, right, and get that rolling. So if they do block, you are safe. And you can also get into some grabs. So like up forward 1+2 is a good one. I like to utilize that throw. I like to use 2-4 and then hold back, strike them in the chest. Or if I'm close to a wall, right? So say I'm here, forward, 1+2, and it wall splats. Right, so you can get some good damage off of that. So another thing you can do off the heat engager that's a little bit more safe and a low option is just spending the rest of the heat. And this, again, will be more safe. You're not going to get necessarily launched, though it is negative. They will be able to get you with, like, quicker buttons, but it does mitigate that risk a little bit for you while still giving you that 50-50 presence. You can also do things that are a little bit less risk and just go like forward 1+2, which is plus on block. Or you can do something just like back 4, just like a low strike. Not too bad. So next we're going to talk about punishers as well as combos. So first we're going to go over the moves that I use to punish with Paul. At 12 frames, back 1-2 is really good. It's a high mid. It is negative on block to the point where you will get punished. You won't get launched in most cases, but you will be getting punished with like 1-2s and things like that. So keep that in mind. His down 1+2 is also 12 frames. You'll get launch punished off of that. So if they do block that, you're cooked. So keep that in mind. So like, why would I use this instead of this if they're the same frames and one is more safe? This one has more range, right? So I'm able to get a little bit more range to get a punish that's a little bit further away from me. So you just have to kind of know the character that you're playing against and how to punish certain moves. And that's where the character knowledge really comes into play. He also has his 1-2 +8, which we already talked about. His back 3 is 14 frames. And you might look at that and say, that's not a launcher, but it actually is. So this does launch. Right, so you are able to get things rolling off of that. He also has his down forward 2, which is 15 frames. And obviously that launches, as you can see right there. So let's talk about the combos. You already saw the combo. We're going to go over the buttons. And I use like the same combo off of basically all of the launchers. And that's 3-2, 3-2, sway back, 1+2, and then run up Demo Man. So it looks like this. 3-2, 3-2, 1+2, run up Demo Man, right? And we're in a good spot, right? So we got our opponent against the wall. We're able to get some things cooking, and we're good to go. So let's talk about some other tools that I like to use with Paul, which kind of go into, I guess you could say, some mind games here. So quarter circle forward, right? That's where the Death Fist is in. Notice he kind of sways forward. You also have quarter circle forward 1, which does launch, and again, you go into that same launch combo. The reason why you would use this, though it is a high, is because it's completely safe, right? So that's the difference, the contrast between the Death Fist and the quarter circle forward 1. You also have quarter circle forward both kicks, and you can get a Death Fist after that, right? And that is also safe. So you do have some safer options off of this. You also have the quarter circle forward 3, which off of a counter, you go right into Demo Man, right? You can go right into Demo Man, right? And you should be able to visually see that. Notice the spark and the way that the camera kind of pans in real quick, right? So, and the sound, like all of those are cues that you just counter hit your opponent and you're able to go, well, that was too late. You're able to go right into Demo Man and get some good damage. The reason why this is so strong is because the opponent will oftentimes stand block because they're worried about that. Right? So they're going to stand block. They're also worried about that. So let's talk about the options off of the sway back. Right? You can get into that off of down forward 1. You can also get into it off of while rising 1-2. Right? Which is really good. And also off of 3-2, but only use that in combo. And some of the options that you have, quarter circle back 4, and this will cover a range in which they can't sidestep. So this will actually hit anyone that's trying to sidestep in front of you. It's also +1 on block, so that's pretty good. We already talked about the 2, quarter circle back 3-2. Now off of the 3-2, you have some options. You can go 3, 2, 1, which close to the wall will actually splat him against the wall, so you can get a combo going. And in most cases, when you splat your opponent against the wall, you're going to go 3, 2, sway back 2. So it looked like this. Right? Just like that. But the last hit of this is a high. Right? So in a lot of cases, I'll just do this, right, and force my opponent to block both of those hits. It's -10 on block, so you're not going to get launch punished for it. If you do go into the 1 at the end, again, they can crouch and punish you. If they are crouch punishing you a lot, you can end with 3, right, which will be okay. It's not bad, but it is negative on block, so keep that in mind. It can keep your opponent guessing, but it's not really a risk that I like to take, as the reward on it isn't like super huge in most cases unless you counter hit them. And most times if they're crouching the 1, they're not going to get counter hit. They're just going to get hit by the normal button because they're ready to whiff punish you. So, it's not really something that I like to toy around with. I like this. If I'm up close to the wall, sometimes I'll go into the full thing because it gets, a higher reward. Also, it crushes on block, by the wall. So let's put our opponent to block. So this is kind of interesting, right? So it like crumples them, right? Boom. So we're +7 in that instance. So it does crumple against the wall. All right, so keep that in mind. Another move that I like to use up against the wall is back and 1+2, which is a move that has armor on it. And if we take him off of block, crumples. All right, so we're able to get some things rolling. It can get a little wonky by the wall, depending on the situation that you're in. So it's like some of those hits whiffed, which is kind of annoying at times. So sometimes the demo man isn't really the best thing to go into. Sometimes you just want to do something, like that against the wall. Like boom, bump, bit, right? So you're not going to whiff that stuff. It's a little more consistent. But a little bit maybe less damage. So let's go over some while rising or crouch situations. His fastest punisher is 3, 2. You also have 1, 2, and you get the sway off of that. So you get all that stuff that we went over with sway off of that. And if you don't want to go into sway, you can just move up, right? So you can just move up, block, and get things rolling that way. He also has the 4, while rising 4. And the while rising 2 will actually launch. And this is 15 frames. I use this a lot against Law. Like Law players, they do that like hit, and then he does that wah, like that, kick where he flies in the air. That last part of that string is a high, so I'll crouch that and then launch them. And this move is good for situations like that, right? Where maybe the last hit is a high, and you crouch it, and then you launch them. 15 frames. Not the fastest, but if you can implement it, it really gets the job done. You get big damage combos off of it. So lastly, let's take a look at some combos off counter hit. We'll start with the quarter circle forward 3. Just go right into demo man. Quarter circle back 4, right? Goes right into down forward 1. So it'll look like this. 3, 2, back 1, 2, and demo man. We also have our quarter circle back 3, 2, 1, run up, demo. All right, so a couple other buttons that I like to utilize when characters are on the ground. Down back 2, also on counter hit, you notice it does launch, but down back 2 will scrape them up off the ground. So if you have somebody is laying on the ground being stupid and just laying there, and you can't really attack them, this will hit them while they're on the ground. It won't launch like that, but it will do some pretty good damage. Also, for people that are coming in with a lot of lows, his up forward 3, 4 does launch, and that will low crush, most people that come in with lows. So I do like to utilize those moves. So that's going to be it so far right now for the tutorial with Paul. And there is more that I will cover. So if you want to see more Paul stuff, I'll do a more advanced tutorial in the future. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you get updated whenever I post that new content. And as always, I want to thank you guys for checking in. It's Gleez signing out, and continue to game strong.